Hello. All right. We are back with the Best Ball 101 series. Drafting today on Drafters, a different platform. We are already right in the middle of a draft, or at least not in the middle of the first round. The draft just started. Here I am at pick 10. I really like the online interface for drafters. You can see all the possible selections, your roster, a full draft board. It's actually quite nice compared to Underdog and DraftKings. Though I'd say this is absolutely the least popular of those three draft apps. I'll tell you what we're in right now before I get on the clock. Drafting in this $10 drafters Superflex NFL Best Ball tournament. So I can see a little bit of this before we get to our pick here. So this is Superflex. I wanted to do this the second video in the series, but it's a Superflex draft. So this tournament has a little over or about 11,000 and a half entrants. So while there's still 5,000 entries left, it's fun to do something a little bit different with Superflex. So here I am on the clock already. I'll talk about strategy as we're going through it. But right away with my first pick, this one's super easy. I'm taking Jaden Daniels here. In Superflex, well, let's again quickly overview here. We have the $10 entry. Now, Drafters is a little bit different from most Underdog and DraftKings tournaments in Best Ball, in that this is no playoffs. You can see in the overview here, full week 1 to 17. That means it's just all total points across the entire fantasy football Best Ball season. There is no playoff where you have to get top 2 out of your pool of 12 in weeks 1 to 14 and then advance in single rounds, single NFL weeks after that. This is just total cumulative fantasy points here. You can see the breakdown. So about the top sixth of users will get double their money, and then it's really top heavy. So I'm going to be competing against all other 11,000 entrants here. And so here we are back at the turn, and I'm just going to easily take two top quarterbacks with my first two picks here. They've got different buys, and so already lined up really well. I've done a couple of these drafts in as slow drafts already. There's no way I'm going to end up max entering this. The max entry is 150, which is all these drafters tournaments end up being 150 max entries, which I'm not really going to max any of those, so a little bit of a disadvantage there. However, I really like these Superflex formats because for my little experience, I should say, doing some of these drafts. I mean, already looking at some of these people I'm playing with. This is my fourth one. I'm going against guys with 82, 78, 96 entries, a lot of entries. But I feel like quarterbacks are undervalued in this format. So here you see my rankings. Look at all these quarterbacks. According to the rankings, the next, 10 of the next 12 picks should be quarterbacks. It's important to have these other strong roster positions. But if we look at the tournament roster breakdown here, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and a super flex. So essentially, the flex position was just converted to a super flex. There's no additional roster spot. On drafters, you're still drafting 20 picks, 20 rounds, 8 players in your starting lineup, and the flex is now a super flex. So really, this means all you need is 2 running back, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end. You're not trying to get one of those in your flex because I want my super flex position each week to be a quarterback every single time. If we look at the scoring, I mean, you can see that right here. This is drafters is pretty basic PPR, point per reception scoring, only 4 passing touchdown points for quarterbacks, and that's it. Nothing complicated. There's no extra bonuses, and so I feel like I want to optimize I want to make sure I'm really dominating at quarterback in these drafts. And if we think about standard best ball breakdown in terms of roster construction, again, best ball. In terms of Best Ball 101, in my opinion, the most important thing is good roster construction and just simply taking players by ADP with that roster construction in mind. Again, I'm using not my own rankings here, the established the run rankings. They're the best in the business. In standard, let's say non-super flex drafts, on drafters, you can even have a full 20 round drafters draft. I will do one later in this series. You want to end up with 3 quarterbacks in your 20 round draft, or 2 if you get the top 2 elite quarterbacks. In fact, I have ended up with 2 elite quarterbacks here in Daniels and Hurts. So you really want to end up with that. And well, I'll pause that for a second because now I'm on the clock here. I could do something totally crazy, and I could just go for a 2 tight end build and take the presumed top quarterback or top tight end in Brock Bowers. I think I'm going to do that. Do something different here. So I do not have an elite running back or wide receiver, but you can see from my rankings, perhaps I could have taken Derrick Henry. So now, what I'm looking to do here is definitely take 3 quarterbacks. I think it's almost guaranteed my next pick is going to be a quarterback, unless, let's say, Drake London is there. He's probably the last sort of these elite wide receivers. But like I was trying to say, I'm really trying to dominate at quarterback here. If I think about some of these rosters already, having Baker Mayfield as your first quarterback, for example, is just not going to cut it. In standard formats, like, where you start 1 quarterback and that's it each week, you want 2 or 3 quarterbacks. So as far as I'm concerned, in a Superflex format, I want 3 or 4 quarterbacks, really 4, unless I get 3 elite guys. I'm actually well on the way to get 3 elite guys here. So perhaps I might just take a quarterback here and be done. But I want to have quarterbacks starting in that slot every time, and I'm going to go ahead and take another rushing quarterback, just really optimizing my chances to get a lot of quarterback rushing touchdowns each week, and that's going to be Kyler Murray here, the next top ranked quarterback. So I have just gone my first 4 picks with premium positions. However, you can even say, looking at the lineup here, that's you start 2 running backs and you start 2 quarterbacks. So, I mean, you can even it's fair to say that I want the same number of quarterbacks as running backs. I'm not even against drafting a 4th quarterback here. So if I look at all of these players here, everyone in this little 12-person draft, this, of course, I'm not just competing against these 12 people. As soon as this draft is done, I'll be launched into the full player pool of all about 11,000 plus drafters. However, I feel like from my experience with these drafts that players are not taking enough quarterbacks. Like, I like what this team's done here. You got CMC and then 3 quarterbacks. I want to make sure I'm really dominating at quarterback, and I feel like I can round out the points with later round guys through the rest of my picks. I'm definitely not going to take 2 quarterbacks with my next picks here, but so Superflex is a little bit different that way. I'm really trying to get these quarterbacks. Now it's still drafters. You're still trying to get the most points each week, and it just sums up. No playoffs here, so I still do want to end up with some team stacks. So I'll keep an eye on if any of my wide receivers are available. Of course, Devontae Smith is going to be gone with Jalen Hurts. Justin Jefferson's obviously gone with Kyler Murray and Terry McLaurin. There's a chance Terry McLaurin might be available. We'll see. He might even be a little bit too far down already. Maybe I can look to get him at the 63 pick here. So we're really trying to focus on now I'm really happy. I'm really happy with this start, getting really 2 elite quarterbacks and then a heavy upside rushing quarterback, all with different buys here. I'm quite happy being in this 10 slots. If it were me, I would probably take Gibbs over Lamar Jackson, but even that's a bit of a toss-up. And so now look at this team here, right? They've got Caleb Williams and Sam Darnold as their top 2 quarterbacks who they want playing each week. That does not seem so great to me. But I do need to make my pick. It's got to not be Daniel Jones. So let's go ahead and just take my next my top wide receiver, who's still, Garrett Wilson absolutely could be or is the wide receiver 1 on his team. And so nice to have a guy who has got top 10, top 12 wide receiver potential still. No problems there. Malik Neighbors goes still high upside. Now I could take Ladd McConkey. This is full PPR, but I meant to not start Devontae Adams because I want to draft now Terry McLaurin to have this nice Jaden Daniels stack. Hopefully get some big games here. I probably will look at taking one more quarterback just because, but now I could take a much later quarterback. I could look at getting Fernando Mendoza, for example, to have this Brock Bowers stack. It's pretty likely that I can get some good points from two of these three quarterbacks each week, but the off chance that Kyler Murray is not actually the starter and that JJ McCarthy gets back into it, I'm going to want a fourth quarterback even. So yeah, not at all against taking four quarterbacks in my first 7 picks in these Superflex drafts. In fact, I probably lean towards it. I'm going to be really weak at running back, but I only need to start 2 running backs each week. So if I draft 6 running backs and there's some RB dead zone guys, that sort of thing, it's not really a big issue to me. One thing about this drafters format, the season long format, where I don't care about week 17 game stacks, all the money is just total season summed up. So each week is as important as every other week. There's no combining all the first weeks 1 through 14 and then individual one-off weeks where anything can happen. If you played best ball last year, you remember like week 15 where Kyle Pitts went off, and if you were extremely lucky to advance through week 15, if you did not have Kyle Pitts. You don't have to worry about that in this kind of formats. However, you still want those big weeks with your stacks, and you want to target players who have the opportunity to really break out, to really just explode above and beyond their projections. That's the reason I took Brock Bowers here. I think he could really run away as just the number 1 tight end by far. You want guys who are just going to dominate. Really, you don't want to just have going for mediocrity, mediocricy, whatever that word is, to get points is totally fine. But yeah, trying to just go for some high upside picks here. I feel like I've done that as well with Garrett Wilson and Terry McLaurin here. I am going to have to take a running back eventually. Looking at these picks here, I could take Geno Smith. He could still rack up the points and have another stack with Garrett Wilson. I don't think I'm going to do that yet. It's probably, if Bucky Irving's here, I probably will take him as sort of the last better starting running back available. And yeah, here he is. I do really like Jameson Williams. I could sort of push it to see if he swings back around, if Bucky swings back around, but I'm just going to go ahead and take Bucky Irving and make sure I at least have a running back who's perhaps going a little bit later than he should. There goes Jameson Williams, which makes a lot of sense. And now coming around this pick, yeah, I very well could take a Geno stack if he's still there. Stack him up with Garrett Wilson. Like I said, then I've got 4 different quarterbacks with 4 different buys, and I know that Geno is going to be the starter for a large chunk of the season. So even if he's sat by week 17, you don't have to worry about that like you might in some tournament style formats. The other option here would be taking another wide receiver, which is definitely good. But yeah, I am totally cool to just take this next quarterback and then completely lock it up. He is the top player available from my rankings. Now I've got 4 quarterbacks, and okay, if we go look at the quarterbacks available, Jacoby Brissett, again, in this format is a lot better because he's going to be the starter for at least the first half of the year. You probably expect Arizona to be a terrible team. Expect Carson Beck, their rookie, who's probably not a very good quarterback, but I mean, you got to see what you have. And if your team has like 2 wins by week 15, then it would make sense to slot Carson Beck in there and see what he's got. This makes Jacoby Brissett a really risky pick in the playoff style formats where you have to win one-off weeks of week 15, week 16. But in this format, it doesn't really matter because Jacoby Brissett is definitely still going to get you points, at least for the first half of the season. So now you see he goes there. And now we've hit the complete drop-off. Now the next best quarterbacks are trying to guess who's going to be the starter in Atlanta. It's probably Tua, but how much does that last, right? Who's going to be the starter in Cleveland? You got Deshaun Watson, Shadir Sanders. does JJ McCarthy have any chance of being the starter? ADP will tell you no, given that it's already all the way down here at 211. So I'm really happy to be the only team with that's not the only one of two teams who have four quarterbacks who are going to start most, if not all, of the year, most likely, barring injuries, of course. We've got this team over here who's got sort of similar lineup setup for me. No wide receivers yet, but got the stud in Gibbs, and then took four quarterbacks. I definitely like this setup, and I've had a similar draft minus McBride. I took a receiver instead when I was drafting at the two slots in this same format. These other teams here, this team needs to rely on Josh Allen and Bryce Young every single week. That's not going to happen. Dak Prescott and Jackson Dart. I feel like all of these two quarterback teams are just super limited when they have that's even when they have a stud quarterback. You look at this team here who has Stafford and Jacoby Brissett. That's it. I mean, I feel like they are going to struggle. They're going to need their top receivers to get into that super flex slot, which could happen. Quarterbacks just score way more points on average than other positions, especially once you're outside of the elite. So I'd love to do some actual analysis on this in the Superflex format, what the optimal number of quarterbacks to have is in this drafters format specifically. I haven't done any analysis, but I like four quarterbacks at this point. And so looking at this now, I also already have my top two wide receivers stacked with their quarterback. I could look to add stacks further on to this. I've got potential setup to allow for other stacks with Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. So let's get off. It's going to be coming up to my pick now. I need to just take more backs and receivers. I can see Jordan Addison's ADP is way low down here, so I won't be taking him. Let's just go for a reliable running back who's going to get me some points. I don't want Kenny Gainwell because I already have Bucky Irving. So, I'm not in love with Chuba here, but I do need some more running backs. And then I will look to take a receiver at the turn. We can do a quick sort by ADP here. We got some tight ends. Yeah, Tucker Kraft would have been nice to take. I could take Mekhi Lemon as well as my Philly stack. So basically, I've got two options. I can go Mekhi Lemon on Philly, or I can go Jordan Addison on Minnesota. I don't have a lot of Mekhi Lemon, and so why not? Let's get him in there as my third wide receiver. And again, that's not at all ideal as your third wide receiver. Mekhi Lemon might not even be starting early on in the season. He might not even start at all. So I'm going to just keep on hammering basically wide receiver now, slot in some running backs. You don't really, I don't love having Bucky Irving and Chuba Hubbard at running back as my top two RBs, but that's okay. There is basically, I'm going to say 0 chance. 0.01% chance that Jordan Addison makes it back to me with his 117 ADP. That's all good. I can look to get my second tight end with TJ Hawkinson and line that up. He's got a different bye week than Brock Bowers. If you saw my last draft video, I tried to go elite tight end, took Colston Loveland, and then ended up, I forget who my second tight end was, but completely messed that up because I took another tight end who had the same bye week. So I will try not to do that. And in fact, if I am able to stack my tight end with one of my quarterbacks, I will certainly not have an overlapping bye week because I've got all four quarterbacks with different bye weeks. This is just a perfect setup that I'm really happy with. I guess if I take a Jets tight end, which I'm not against, I do like taking flyers on Kenyon Sadiq as a potential breakout rookie. So he's the only one I'll be not targeting. Yeah. So here's Jordan Addison at 118. One slot after ADP. Totally makes sense. Let's see if I can expand the draft board a little bit here. Now we're into the backup running back tier. Definitely need more running backs. I'm going to hold off on tight end, even if the value is good. I really need to round out my receiver and running back rooms. I do like Jacoby Myers here. Can put him into the queue. Don't mind Matthew Golden. I actually really like J.K. Dobbins as a guy who should get a lot of points, especially early on in the season until he gets injured. I doubt he's going to get to me with an ADP of 122. It's surprising that he's still around now. One of these next few picks will end up going with him. Jordan Mason, there he goes. But there's J.K. Dobbins. So I'm going to be happy with one of these wide receivers. Basically, whoever I end up with between Myers or Matthew Golden is no problem. No stack to be had there yet, but that's okay. Take a look at ADP. They're also the next two guys by ADP. I could swing around and get a tight end with my next pick as well, or my pick after that. But I will just go ahead and take Jacoby Myers, who is ahead in my rankings. So now I'm at 4 wide receivers, not at all close to being done. So if I've taken 4 quarterbacks here, 1 tight end, that's 15 slots left. I am probably just looking at 1 more tight end and really going to lean on Bowers and hope that he doesn't get injured. That could be in the form of Dallas Goedert here. If I don't see good value, I will definitely take Casey Conception. If he's here. There's still a wealth of nice tight ends available. 2 running backs. I mean, I definitely need more running backs, but we're just going to start hammering running back in a little bit. Get some of these later running backs before these sort of starting wide receivers that you're happy with dry up. I mean, this is I don't want to take either of these guys here. Keaton Mitchell, that's too early. Let's just go ahead and take the next highest guy on my draft board here, another receiver. So we're really going wide receiver heavy since the quarterback heavy start. Still only 5 receivers. So now I'm starting to be a little bit more comfortable that the 3 of these guys each week can give me some good PPR points. Still quite weak at running back, but that is okay. So this is round 12. I just made my round 12 pick. I've got 8 picks left. I would like to have 4 or 5 of those picks as running backs, 2 or 3 receivers, and 1 tight end, assuming I get a tight end soon. If I miss out on sort of this next tier of tight ends with like any of these guys, I see Kelsey, Ferguson, Mark Andrews, none of those are going to come back to me, I expect. But I'd be totally happy with Brenton Strange, get a mini late round Jacksonville stack. Kenny Sadiq I would only take as with 3 tight ends, and so I'm not looking to do that, like I said. Here's TJ Hawkinson all the way down at pick 181. So that means I could already target him a few rounds after. Could go for another stack here with Chico Conco. I've got lots of options with tight end. I'm really not so worried. So I'm really going to be looking at value at running back here and wide receivers still. And then even if I have to take a couple late tight ends, that's totally fine to complement Brock Bowers. So with this pick, I'll be happy to take Chris Rodriguez. I'll be happy to take Woody Marks. Just guys who, well, I hope to see on the field and get me some points. There goes Woody Marks. I doubt Chris Rodriguez is going to make it. Let's see. He's definitely my clear pick now. Sweating it out. And there he goes, 1 pick before me. All right, so I didn't get Chris Rodriguez. I mean, that's nothing big to sweat about. So now I am on the clock here, and there's no real running back who I want. And so, well, let's just take Omar Cooper. That is definitely a little bit of a reach compared to ADP, but it's another guy with my Geno Smith stack there, another Jets wide receiver. Not ideal, but just jumped by my rankings. Hey, I mean, sometimes, I wouldn't say I got sniped there, but spending all my time focusing on that Chris Rodriguez pick instead of thinking who were my contingency options. But another wide receiver, I'm totally happy with that. Now in a PPR format, I would not be upset with taking Alvin Kamara, and there goes Alvin Kamara. Oh my God, what a nice turn of events here. So now my running backs are going to be real weak, but that's okay. We need to get somebody who has a chance of catching some passes here. And so let's take Dylan Sampson by ADP. This was exactly on ADP, even if he's a bit lower on my rankings. Yeah, we will need now with this 6 wide receivers. I'm gonna have to go up to 6 running backs as well because my running backs are pretty weak. So we've got 6 picks left. Let's say 3 more receivers. Let's try and get a little tight end plan here. There's no more Brenton Strange available. If Juwan Jennings is still there, I mean, I doubt he would be 10 picks after ADP, but then that would still be a little Kyler stack. I don't have anybody that I've paired with Kyler right now, whereas all my other quarterbacks do have stacks. But like I said, I am happy to take TJ Hawkinson, who's all the way down here, lower by ADP. Normally, I am happy targeting Kenyon Sadiq. He would probably be there with my pick, but because of his overlapping bye week with Brock Bowers, both bye weeks, week 13, so that I am paying attention to this time, I will not be taking. I won't be taking Kenyon Sadiq this time, and also due to my real running back need. So we go to running backs who now are backups. We're already into the backup running back tier. I just am going to hope that every week I get usable points out of one of these 2 guys, Bucky or Chuba Hubbard, and then can get one of the next sort of 4 backup running backs that I'm going to be drafting, including Dylan Sampson, to be able to sneak out some points to make it to my roster. I just need 2 running backs to score points for me each week. So that's not really a big deal. So let's go ahead. I can put Brian Robinson in the queue. Jonah Coleman, since I did not get J.K. Dobbins, I got no problem taking Jonah Coleman too as the rookie, presumably 3rd running back in Denver, but high contingency upside should RJ Harvey or J.K. Dobbins get injured. And yeah, everybody always expects J.K. Dobbins to get injured. Tight ends are starting to fly here, so there's a chance I get my tight end pick gets taken again. I am now really hoping for TJ Hawkinson here. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And otherwise, if I keep looking at the running backs who are going to be available, I mean, Sean Tucker, don't really want to take him because I've already got Bucky Irving. And then now scrolling even lower, I mean, yeah, Zach Charbonnet, I think, is way worse in this format because he's already been declared on the PUP, the physically unable to perform list. Oh, no. And there goes TJ Hawkinson, 5 or so picks above ADP. We know it's not a stack. All right. Well, that's how it goes, I guess. Do I push the room? Oh, there goes Gadsden. So now I could go for the upside Kenyon Sadiq play, and then I will need one very late tight end. I might just do that at this point. Yeah. Okay. No, I can't do that. Let's take Jonah Coleman. I really need these running backs. I lost Brian Robinson there. Jonah Coleman was the last available running back, so I cannot in this tier, I should say. So I can't risk losing him. Wow, that's it's late in the game here, rounds 14, 15, but it's been some rough snipes. There goes Kenyon Sadiq, totally fair. So now I will be looking at just waiting on tight end, probably pretty late, and maybe taking 2 of them. I just need more guys who are going to score me points. Again, I'm not taking Sean Tucker. Who do we have here at actual running back? Jaden Blue is around the ADP here. He is the presumed backup. Yeah, or I could take Jerry Jeudy, who's expected to get some points, and I think let's just do that. Now I think I'm going to be done. I got quite the Cleveland stack here. That's probably a terrible idea, but if Cleveland gets some points, then I will get those points. make sure my buys are not too overlapping at wide receiver. Yeah, other than my double Cleveland, it's not such a big deal. So I've got 4 picks left. I've got 4 running backs, 7 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 4 quarterbacks. Love my quarterback room. Tight end, I'm going to likely need 2 more of them now. And then I'm probably shutting the door at wide receiver and just taking 2 running backs as well. Just 2 more flyers on guys, but we'll see. I'd be really happy with Pat Freiermuth. Perhaps if I get him, he might be the last guy that I'm happy with. In fact, he's definitely the last guy I'd be happy with to only take 1 more tight end. If I have to go into the sort of Mike Gesicki tier, Colby Parkinson, then I'm going to want to go for 2 tight ends. No problem taking Dawson Knox, for example. He's been a late round target of mine in a bunch of these drafts. There goes Pat Freiermuth, so there goes that option. All right, so I'm definitely not going to take a tight end with this pick here. With the 202, at least. Well, I shouldn't say definitely. Who knows? We'll see what happens. I do like Calvin Ridley, but I'm probably not going to end up with him. I do like Ray Davis. There is, I'm going to say, no chance the way that things have been happening for him to come back to me here. Justice Hill as a pass-catching running back, he should still play. So I'm happy taking him. Ty Johnson, again, is pretty high in these rankings because he expects to get on the field. He is trusted in Buffalo. He'll end up getting at least 2 or 3 usable weeks in best ball, be getting some long touchdowns. There goes these receivers anyways. But you can see from Ty Johnson's ADP, 229, I would not have to take him till my last or second last pick. Which means that, I'm really hoping that Ray Davis gets back. But like I said, it's not going to happen. And so then, maybe just by ADP here, maybe I'm looking at Katron Allen. But this is really a shot in the dark. I mean, the starting running back for Washington is, either Rachaad White or Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, good old Bill, JCM. So now Katron Allen, a rookie, he could be a complete zero. There went Ray Davis, of course, so did not end up with my pick there. My next pick will be Justice Hill, unless I get sniped once again. I will be not at all surprised if that does happen, but the way things have been going. Let's see what happens. All right, 3 seconds, Dwan. Okay, good. We got Dejon Stribling. Is that even a stack? No, it is not. It is not a stack. So, all right, now I can take. It's not even an exciting pick. I'm taking Justice Hill, hoping for him to catch some passes in Baltimore. That's 5 running backs. Definitely need to end up with another one, though. I'm pretty happy to just wait and take somebody like Ty Johnson, DJ Giddens, instead of like big risk and guys like Jordan James on San Fran, Emmett Johnson on KC at this time of year. Just have no idea if they are even going to play. So instead, let's take an upside tight end in Mike Gesicki, assuming I don't get sniped here. He's okay, good. Pat Bryant. Yeah, Pat Bryant's a totally reasonable pick here. But we're going to go ahead and take Mike Gesicki as the sort of next best tight end. So now is my tight end 2. Like I said, definitely need another tight end and another running back. So let's just think about the strategy a little bit more. So I've got 2 quarterbacks playing each week out of these 4. Really happy with that. And they're never going to overlap on their bye weeks. I need 2 running backs playing out of these top 5. I do got 1 bye week overlap. That's a little bit sketchy, given that I said 2 out of 4. I'm happy with the quarterback, and my quarterback group is much stronger than my running back group. I also have no stack to go with Kyler, but that's okay. Kyler's a running quarterback, so he can still get me the points. And then at wide receivers, I need 3 of these guys in PPR to score for me each week. I do really like my top two receivers, Gary Wilson, Terry McLaurin. Mekhi Lemon's a bit sketchy. Jacoby Myers should see the field all year and be solid. And then getting points from one of these guys each week, another rookie in Casey Conception, should be possible. Omar Cooper. I've actually ended up going rookie heavy. I've got didn't even notice, three first round in the real NFL draft rookies making up my 7 wide receivers. That could be amazing, and they were drafted, or their ADPs were too late compared to the upside they have from being first round rookies, or they could all just completely bust as being actual rookies in the NFL. So that is a bit risky. I would like to have one more receiver, but I think my running back room is just too weak that I need to have another somebody scoring me points at wide receiver, and tight ends. I will probably be happy to just take Dawson Knox here as a guy who can still get points, get some players on Buffalo. So looking at, even the overall picks, my rankings are going to say that all of these sort of mediocre running backs are still ranking the highest. They're going to be on the field. They're going to get points, and so by ADP, this is actually a huge fall for Mike Washington. But I am just going to go ahead and take the probable safer pick in Ty Johnson here. Round out my running back room. And then my last pick of the draft will hopefully be Dawson Knox. If I look at these teams, Sam Laporta, Kenyon Sadiq, that's not a lock that this guy will want to be finished at tight end. And this room over here, same thing with Tucker Kraft and Kate Otten. However, the next available tight end by ADP is Michael Mayer, then Darnell Washington. So Mason Taylor, see, there you go, another guy who's going much later. Eric All right. At this point, you're just taking who you like. And Dawson Knox just signed an extension with Buffalo. He's going to see the field. I totally like him as a real late third tight end if needed. So he will be my player and my pick. And so all right, here we're done the draft. A fast Superflex $10 drafters format. My strategy for all of these is to just dominate the quarterback room, and I think I've done that here. I've got top quarterbacks, each with different buys: Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith. Real happy there. That's meant that I am weaker than I would like at running back. So I'm basically relying on Bucky Irving or Chuba Hubbard to ideally both, but one of these two guys to stay healthy and keep scoring points, and then one of these 4 flyers to be able to sneak into my starting lineup each week. These backup or worse running backs. Jonah Coleman, the RB3 right now. Justice Hill still fighting for that RB2 job. Ty Johnson, the RB2 or 3 fighting against Ray Davis. And then at wide receiver, like I said, I ended up with 3 rookies. You'd expect at least one of them to really break out and have a strong season, but you never know. And I'm happy. So I got the potential breakout of a top tight end in Brock Bowers, and then a couple other guys to cover for his bye week: Mike Gesicki, Dawson Knox. A little bit of upside there. And then if we look at some of these teams in the background here, I really like how I compare with them at quarterback. Look at this first team. Took Josh Allen, obviously, clear 101 pick in the Superflex formats. But then second pick, didn't take another quarterback until their round 6 pick. And now you're trying to start Bryce Young each week. That's risky. I guess you could say that's all right. We've got 2 top running backs in Barkley and Ken Walker, and then Breece Hall could end up in that Superflex. But Breece Hall on a week-to-week basis is probably going to be roughly the same number of points per game as Bryce Young. That's just the way that's quarterback scoring works out. And then they knew they needed more flyers at quarterback, so they ended up taking 2 picks late on Carson Beck and Anthony Richardson. Those guys could really be complete zeros for you. I'm much happier taking my late round picks as a tight end or backup running back flyers. And yeah, continuing through the board. I mean, look at this team here. They took two quarterbacks on the same team, Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders, just to make sure they get starter points to cover for their only two other quarterbacks. So you end up scrambling at quarterback if you don't end up with quarterbacks early in Superflex. I perhaps could have held off on Geno Smith here and taken a receiver like Carnell Tate, who went just after, for example, and made my room a bit stronger. But in this draft, all the quarterbacks pretty much dried up by this 8th round. Having three elite quarterback, well, two elite quarterbacks, and then Kyler Murray, another Russian quarterback, is likely totally fine in the Superflex format, but I really want to make sure I've got two quarterbacks in this, two quarterbacks starting for me each week when I have the potential to, which is what happens in the Superflex format. So yeah, here we have it. Let me know what you think of the roster. If it went terribly, definitely got sniped some picks, but that's the way it goes. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you back next week or next draft, where I'll move on to cover a regular draft on drafters and some underdog drafts as well.